CTV News at 5 with Hudson Mack.
Adrian Dix also weighed in on the Northern Gateway Pipeline project, telling the UBCM delegates that British Columbia should have more say in the proposal and should not let the federal government determine the outcome. He made those statements as the UBCM voted to pass a strongly worded motion which opposes more tanker traffic along BC's coast. Saanich Council brought that motion forward, and it passed by a little more than 51%. It urges the Premier and the opposition leader to do whatever they can to stop expansion of BC coastal tanker traffic.
Well, I support the resolution and voted for it. I think it reflects the sentiment up in our part of the world. There's a very strong sentiment opposing the oil tanker and pipeline project Enbridge has proposed. Of course, like any community, there's a range of perspectives, but that's really the message we're hearing very strongly from Northwest communities and from First Nations in particular.
The rest of the delegates voted against the motion, saying bringing tanker traffic to a standstill sends the wrong message to potential investors. They say the province should wait until environmental reviews of the pipeline are complete.
We don't want a Kinder Morgan surprise on our coast.
Meantime, pipeline opponents visited the Kinder Morgan open house at the UBCM today, half naked and covered in oil. The protesters were quickly removed from the building, but that didn't stop them from getting the message across as they handed out Kinder Surprise chocolates covered with some kind of oily coating.
We went up there and tried to speak with them, and they were more concerned about us getting our water-soluble, oil-like substance on their carpets than really talking to us. And for me, you know, when you see some people that come to you and clearly really feel passionately about this, that they're covering themselves with these things, they've come out today to come and talk to you, to stand there and not even engage with us, to be concerned about the carpets, just trying to get rid of us, really uncomfortable, you know, means that they're not really talking to people and that they're not really concerned. And obviously they're not, because they have a lot of money behind still building these pipelines.
The expansion would increase the Kinder Morgan pipeline capacity from 300,000 barrels a day to 850,000. Saanich police tonight are looking for witnesses after a man was brutally stabbed near the Country Grocery store in Royal Oak. It happened last night just after 9 o'clock. Police say a fight broke out behind the shopping plaza. It ended with one of the victims being stabbed multiple times. Officers taped off the grocery store as they scoured the scene for clues, and they got help from the canine team. Police say the 22-year-old victim is still recovering in the hospital.
We're hoping that there's some witnesses out there that saw something, possibly an altercation or some other people involved or arguing between multiple parties, really between the 9 and the 9:15 p.m. Time period. We do have some information that there was people that fled possibly out onto the Viewmont Street side of the plaza, so we're hoping someone might be able to help us out.
Officers say they are giving the victim time to recover before they question him about what happened. If you saw anything or know anything about the incident last night at the Royal Oak Country Grocery, you're asked to contact Saanich Police. Vic PD, meantime, have taken nearly $50,000 worth of crack and methamphetamine off Victoria streets. Officers arrested a 23-year-old Victoria man and a 26-year-old Sauk woman as they came off the ferry at Swartz Bay. Police say the pair had been tracked yesterday from Vancouver, carrying the drugs in a suitcase. Vic PD believes the suspects were bringing those drugs in for the last Wednesday of the month, which is when social assistance checks are issued. The 23-year-old man now faces charges of drug trafficking. Some tense moments on the Songhees First Nation today after two young children claimed that someone had tried to abduct them. RCMP say the two children, aged 5 and 7, had told their parents that they were approached by a stranger while they were on their way to school. Police searched vehicles in the area matching the description, and they questioned people, but they say in the end they were not able to substantiate the children's claim, and they do not believe that there was an incident or any danger to the public. And as always, students at Oak Bay High School are going to great lengths for this year's Cops for Cancer, shaving their heads or waxing their legs to help raise awareness and raise money to send kids to Camp Good Times. The participants say the fundraiser hits close to home. They want to make a difference, and of course there's always bragging rights with other schools.
Well, I had a friend that went to Camp Good Times from age probably about 7 to about 18 now, and now she's a camp counselor, and just seeing, like, I don't know, it just seems like a good place to go. If you're with a bunch of people who are going through the same situation as you, it seems like the perfect thing.
You're pretty excited about that.
I'm so excited. I just want it to happen. I've been waiting for 30 days for this to happen. Yeah, I've just been, I can't sleep, I can't eat, I can't do anything. I just want this, I'm so happy.
And it did happen. Grace managed to raise more than $4,100 for the Tour de Rock team. The entire student body aims to raise more than $25,000. by the end of next week when the Cops for Cancer roll through the gym. And more generosity. The donations keep rolling in for Janice Edroff. Thanks to you and our friends at Island Savings, more than $30,000 has now been raised to help send Janice and her family to the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, where she can get a second opinion on surgery she requires for her condition on her back after weeks of fundraising and uncertainty. Janice and her family are waiting to make that trip, and they certainly appreciate all your help. Could be rough waters ahead for a recreational boater in Campbell River convicted of violating the Species at Risk Act. Carl Peterson was charged after he was caught racing his powerboat towards a pod of orcas in August 2010. That act prohibits anyone from harassing a member of a wildlife species listed as threatened or endangered. Peterson will be sentenced later in the fall. He could face a maximum fine of $250,000. RCMP in Port Alberni needs your help tonight. They're trying to find a 30-year-old woman who is missing. Stephanie Ewing was last seen by a friend on Tuesday. Ewing had been living in the 6800 block of Beaver Creek Road, but was in the process of moving when she disappeared. She had recently relocated to the island from Ontario. So far, RCMP say they have no indication of foul play, but they would like to find her. If you have information regarding Stephanie Ewing's whereabouts or her disappearance, call Port Alberni RCMP or Crime Stoppers. An historic house in Nanaimo is getting a second chance at life and is giving youth in the city a chance for a fresh start as well. The Nanaimo Youth Services Association bought the old rooming house on Halliburton Street and plans to extensively renovate the building to provide as many as 16 affordable apartments for employed youth between the ages of 17 and 30. The association says many of the people who will live in the house will come from a youth employment training program. The BC government will pay the $300,000 construction bill. The city of Nanaimo is providing a grant of $75,000 towards the project. The community is invited to get involved too and help clean up the site this Saturday from 9 until 4.